This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Watch out and pull over because coming down the road is an ambulance full of paramedics that are getting ready to work on some patients and they're going to be yelling clear. Today we're looking at Paramedics Clear. This is a 2 to 4 player real-time game from Smirk Dagger games. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, everyone's going to get a player board, and they're all sort of a little bit different, meaning over the course of the game, you're going to be helping patients by giving them different treatments. And to get these treatments, you're going to be playing cards like purple or blue or orange and orange. These ones are harder. You have less of these tokens. You'll also start with a couple in your med cabinet that you'll be able to use right away. But over the course of the game, you're going to be spending cards to gather these to help patients that are in your different gurneys. At the beginning of the game, you're each going to start with a person in your normal gurney and someone face down in your backup gurney. Now in this game, each player plays on their own for a certain amount of time. During the beginning of the game, each player is going to have a 60-second shift, and during the second third of the game, they will have a 45-second shift, and towards the end it'll be 30, so it will speed up as the game goes on. On your turn, it's a real-time game where the timer will be going, but we'll keep this out for now. You're going to start with 5 cards. These would secretly be in your hand. Essentially, they're the different types of things that you need in order to help your patients. At the beginning of your turn, if there are any face-down patients, you'll flip them up. Now with patients, you need to at least sustain them or else they will go to the morgue and die, unfortunately, during the round. So how do you sustain them? So during your turn, you can play cards. You're going to start with 5. For example, this guy needs all sorts of band-aids. He got hurt by office shenanigans. This one was an archery incident. I love the artwork in the game. It's really fun to look at. So here, let's say I need to get one of these band-aids. I could use a purple or a blue. So I could take this and discard it to get one of these and place it on, this on here. Now once I've placed at least one thing this round, I kind of turn them diagonal. This is sustained. That means at the end of the round, we've at least sustained this patient so they will not die. However, if at the end of the round, I did not place anything new on this patient. Now in a previous round, maybe I had actually sustained them, and this is the way it started this round. Everyone starts unsustained because every round you have to then place one more new thing on them to try to sustain them. But let's say this person did not get sustained. This just goes back here, and this player would go to the morgue. This would get me -2 points at the end of the game. However, let's say it was another turn for me. This was the only patient I was working on. I needed 2 band-aids. This is a blue or purple. I'll play the blue to get a band-aid. I need one more, but I don't have any in my hand. Well, I look up here. You can always swap with what is there. So I could put a green there. I could take the blue. I could discard this blue to get this, and this person is now saved. So I will get them to the hospital where I'll get 2 points for them at the end of the game. Now the kicker is when you finish your main gurney, the timer is going to keep going and you have to refill it. And you have to at least sustain this player before the time runs out. So you might want to time differently when you're going to finish this patient because you don't want to do it too late into the time shift because then you'll have to at least sustain them or you're going to send them to the morgue with this chemical explosion. So at the beginning of your turn, depending on which shift you are, you're going to select it. You're going to start. And this will go and it's a timer. So during this time is when it's beeping. You're the only one actively doing things on their board, trying to sustain and do things like that. So that's pretty much what you'd be doing. You'd be flipping cards, you'd be trading cards, trying to get 2 oranges. You'll be turning the 2 oranges in to get the blood. I'll put the blood here because it needs orange, and I'll sustain it. I can breathe for a minute, look at what I have left for cards, and things like that, and you're trying to figure that out. If you have someone on the backup gurney from other players, then you'll be needing to sustain them as well. You'll be continue doing this until you're either done, you finish cards. You can also, if you want to, start to put cards here for your upgrade. I'm going to shut the timer off for just a moment here. So when you're done, you say clear, and you tap that. It would then be the next player's turn. They would tap that, and then start. At the end of your turn, you will sustain this. Now, how does this work, these upgrade cards? Over the course of the game, different rounds, you can add cards there, but they have to be the same color. Now, you can discard them all and start in a new color, but as you get cards of a specific color and you have a certain amount of them, you can get upgrades. For example, you could spend 2 of them to get an extra med cabinet. And this allows you to, when you play cards, like if I played a blue or a purple, and I get one of these Band-Aids, I could place it in the med cabinet. Then when I really need something and I don't have the cards for it, I could take it from here and add it directly to here. So it allows you to store different things. If I spend 4, I can get the med vac. And at any time, one of these patients, if they're about to die, I can get rid of this and put them right to the hospital. But again, if it's the main gurney, it's going to get filled up, so be careful when you do it. And if you get this with a cost of 5 of the same colors here, you would spend these in the discard pile. And for the rest of the game, you'll have a hand of 6 cards instead of 5. So you're working on upgrades throughout the game, and you're working on things that are very much time endeavors. Now, once you're able to send a patient to the hospital, you'll be drawing 2 cards. You'll be placing 1 in your face-up gurney and 1 face down in a backup gurney of somebody else. They won't get to see what this is until it's their turn. If everyone's backup gurneys are filled, this would just get discarded. Now, you get these when other people are finishing, and they'll put them here. Interesting things can happen with these, because when it's your turn, you'll flip this over, and sometimes it might be a critical patient. Now, you can actually take critical patients, but they're usually very risky, because if you don't finish all of the things they need, they will go to the morgue, where you need to finish them all. Now, this one only needed 1 thing, so not too bad there. But some of the critical patients need more than 1 thing, and you have to get both of them in that 1 round, or else they have been, they go to the morgue. That's pretty much how the game works. Again, you're going to be playing through all of these cards. Once this deck empties, you'll then play the 45-second shift, and you'll shuffle all the discard and have another big pile. You'll keep playing till this deck empties. Then you'll play the 3rd round, which is basically people taking multiple turns at the 30-second shift. And once that's done, everyone is going to score by adding up all the positive points of those in the hospital and all the negative points in the morgue, and whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. All right, there's Paramedics Clear. I really like the interesting and fun theme here. It's actually very serious, and the things you're doing are, life and death, but the way that it's done and the artwork of the little stick figures and the types of things like the paper cuts, and some of them are pretty serious, but the artwork in here is very fun, makes something that could have been a very heavy theme and took that and made it a very light and fun and friendly theme. So I really like the way they integrated that into the game. Now, I've never been a paramedic. In fact, needles and blood just make me pass out. I could never work in the hospital, so I can't imagine what it is like to work in one of those stressful situations. But my imagination from watching TV, of course I'm an expert now since I've watched the TV about doctors, is that this probably feels like what someone does if they're in a crazy triage with a lot of stuff going on, with how helter-skelter it is, how many different things you're thinking about at once, the different patients, which ones can we just sustain, and it feels like you're under the gun, and it must make you feel like you're in that room. And I really like that when you're playing this game, when I first sat down to play this and I'm looking at each player gets 60 seconds. And in a 4-player game, that means I'm gonna have 3 full minutes, possibly, without doing anything. And I'm like, oh gosh, this downtime is gonna be killer. But there's actually not any, because you have so much focused attention on your turn that when it's not your turn, you're resetting your board, you're putting the tokens up, you're looking at your cards that you have, you're looking at the cards that are out there, you're looking at your gurneys that are possibly face up, maybe one that's not. And you're pretty much planning your next turn out in your head, thinking, okay, I could go like this, I could go like this, I could go like this. And you're kind of pre-planning your turn to the point, so by the time it gets back to your turn, you're ready to go. So I was really excited that this does not really have any downtime, because you're so much focused and thinking on what you're going to do in your next turn. And I thought that was just an interesting part of this game. This game does have a lot of interesting decisions, and you got to make them quickly. Do I put this card? Am I trying to save for upgrades? I got to sustain this? Oh, but I can spend these now and get something in my med cabinet. Do I need to vac this person out? No, if I don't, I can keep that for points later on. So some interesting choices that you got to make right on the fly, and I like that aspect of it. I liked how some of them were critically injured, and you got to get them all thematically. It makes sense that you got to fix all of them in order to keep them alive. Otherwise, they're going to go away. And the backup gurneys is cool, because you get to slip someone. A lot of times, a critical person, their backup gurney, they don't get to see it till they flip it over. But the backup gurney is cool too, because you can kind of work on things, and when you finish it, you're not worried about one showing up right away like your main gurney. So it's sort of like a little bit easier to deal with. You can finish it anytime. So I like the way those two gurneys work because they kind of work differently. And the upgrades, I love that. Getting the extra med cabinets, getting the medvac flight out, getting the 6 hands, and it's just one more thing to think about and work on over the game to make you more powerful. So in the future turns, things go easier. Anything negative I could say about the game? Well, it's a real-time game. If you don't like real-time games and you don't like pressure, this game is not going to make you like it. In fact, you'll probably still dislike it because it is real-time and it does feel very tense. So for those of you that don't like this style of game, the awesome theme and everything around it's probably not going to make you like it because it is very tense. My only real big complaint is there's no scaling for player count. Now, there is a variant in the back of the book that says you can choose as many rounds as you want to play, or just do like, you can put someone who's really good can just do 3 rounds of 30 seconds. Or you can do 45, 45, 30. And I like that they have the different difficulties. But what I'm talking about is the length of the game. I feel like with 2 players, there's too many turns. To get through that entire deck, by the end of the 3rd round, or even halfway through the 3rd round, I'm ready for the game to be over. It overstays its welcome a little bit. But it's an easy fix. Just take a few cards out, figure out how many cards are there for a 4-player game, and just scale it down, taking on an equal amount of each of the colors of each type, and take it out. I think it was like take 4 of each color out for 2 players, something like that. I figured out, and then it felt good. It felt like I had the right amount of turns, didn't feel like it was too long. So I wish there would have been some sort of scaling for the amount of players to keep the length of the game the same, keeping the same amount of, maybe not the full length, but the amount of turns you're going to get. Because if you get too many turns in the game, then it just gets a little bit too repetitive. So I would recommend pulling some cards out equally for the 2-player game especially, and a few out for the 3-player game to keep it feeling so it ends right at the right time. But other than that, really fun game. It does what it's supposed to do well, and that's Paramedics Clear.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.